Welcome to the Genesis of the Doctor podcast, where we're taking a journey through the time and space of the history of Doctor Who. I'm Joy.
And I'm Tris.
And for today's episode, we will be talking about the 5th and 6th serials of the Season 2 of Doctor Who, which are The Web Planet and The Crusade. I have to say, I don't think I liked either of them that much, to be honest.
Yeah, I definitely have opinions on both of them, but I think I have more opinions on The Web Planet. Although I think I liked Web Planet more, but we'll get into it.
Yeah. For The Web Planet, I think it's largely like a style over substance type of thing, where, like, I liked the acting of the Monoptera and everything. Like, that was, they did, like, interesting things with them, but the story is, there's not much there.
There's not too much to the story, and there's a very strong overuse of the same, like, 2 sound effects that, for 6 episodes, is really grating. If it was, like, every now and then in, like, a 3-parter episode, fine. But by the 3rd episode, I was getting so sick of the sound effects. Like, which is unfortunate, because I actually think these were some of the best, like, costume designs and set design that we've had so far. Like, the set of the planet was really good, and the costumes of the Monoptera and just the giant bugs were honestly, like, really well done. Very silly.
Yeah.
But for the time, like, pretty decent.
Yeah. I definitely liked, like, the set design and the costumes and everything.
Mm-hmm. Those were some of the strong points.
I feel like it could have done with being a 4-parter instead of a 6-parter, because, like, the Doctor escapes and then comes back and then escapes and comes back again.
Yeah.
Like, they just keep redoing stuff.
There's quite a bit of back and forth to it all that I feel didn't really need to be there. It definitely could have been 4. Like, it was fine as 6, but it did start to feel pretty drawn out once we entered those last few episodes.
Yeah.
I think I really liked the mystery of the very first episode to it all. I think the first episode to it all might have been my favorite of this serial, where you have them arrive on the planet and they're really just trying to figure out what's going on here. You have the Doctor and Ian out and about in strange suits to kind of help them with the difference in atmosphere and playing around with acid, and Barbara getting manipulated by gold, which is kind of strange.
I did like how it brought back the bracelet she was given by Nero, and had, like, it actually be a very important plot point in this one.
Yeah, it was pretty important.
A neat little, neat connection there.
Yeah, I also liked how we actually had, like, a little taste of Vicky being from the future, and, like, how Barbara kind of played into it, like the idea of aspirin is very strange and foreign to her, and it's like some old culture thing, and Barbara's like, all right, fine, I'll start singing seances for you. Just really playing into it all. I thought that was charming. That was some good character growth there.
And then the whole conversation about how school is different as well. Mm-hmm. She's like, wow, you're teaching kids, like, stuff that I learned in elementary school, and you're in later on in school.
How long are you in school? Oh, almost a whole hour a week. Oh man, Vicky. The times change. Wow.
There were also some moments in this where, like, you could tell when Ian had to react to, like, the splash in the water, you could tell that they gave him a late cue where he just stands there for 10 seconds before he reacts to it.
Yeah, there was definitely a few times like that throughout the serial where things were a bit comically delayed. Not intentionally, of course, but, like, you can also see a couple times where, like, oh, we're supposed to bring out the aliens, we're supposed to bring out the giant bugs on scene, so you can actually kind of see them lurking in the background or their shadows at times because they're waiting to come on screen.
Yeah. And then one of the Zarbi crashes into the camera as well.
Yep, that did indeed happen. Which is honestly pretty funny, and it kind of reminded me of the Daleks, where Barbara's kind of trapped in the room, and one of the things she does is put her hand on the camera, which helped feel claustrophobic. This, in this case, definitely felt more like an accident, but it did kind of make it feel a bit chaotic and scary.
Yeah. I mean, in the Romans, there was also, when the ship was crashing...
Oh, that's right.
The camera got hit by something as well.
That's right. That's
see
right.
That stuff sometimes.
I'm sure that's probably a bad thing when that actually happens, but it actually kind of adds to it, I feel like.
Apparently, like, the Zarbi costumes are very hard to see out of.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what happened there.
You can definitely tell that was the case when that's clearly why they had the Doctor and Vicky essentially guiding one with them during one of their escapes, rather than playing along of, oh, it's leading them out. They very clearly were guiding that person along so they could see.
Mm-hmm.
But I think overall for this serial, I mean, like you said, I like the Menoptera. I like the idea behind them and the costume design for them. The way they speak was interesting. It was a little hard to tell what was meant to be consistent because some of them really just didn't do it.
Yeah.
So there was times where the consistency to it was lost, and it was a little hard to tell where the fine line of what they're supposed to sound like was, because some of the actors were doing it very differently. But there was a couple times where it was a little too over the top, and it was just outright goofy more than anything else. Like when they're yelling at the Zarbi.
And then I found the Optra were very funny with just watching them bounce around and everything.
I think they were having fun.
That was very funny.
I think they were having fun with that role, and those are also like really good costumes. Like I think that this is like some of the best like alien designs we've had yet. That isn't like you know rolling around in the Dalek suit. This is like really a lot for the time actually for these costumes, and they're playing the roles pretty well too, and making them seem like creepy and weird to the main cast.
Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of our main cast, though, what do you think? Is this another case of Ian just kind of bumbles around constantly and ends up at the right place at the right time?
Yeah, that's definitely what it seems like.
Because I was thinking
he just kind of bumbles around, and he meets like the Optra and everything, and he's kind of just tangentially involved with everything happening.
Yeah, tangentially involved for sure. Like he was involved early on, but once he split off from everyone else, he really just did his own thing that it ended up helping more. But I think Barbara really just was, once again, the hero here. You know, once again, the bloodthirsty Barbara being the one to kill the creatures in the end. But again, Barbara's like the most capable of all of them. Like they really keep hammering that away. When Barbara gets a spotlight, she's very good at this. She takes control of situations, or at the very least goes along with them well enough to understand them very well. And she kind of was part of the biggest plan here. Once the Doctor found her again and got involved with it all, it kind of just fused plans, but she still ended up being the MVP of it all.
Yeah. And the Doctor was kind of just stalling for time for the most part.
For a lot.
That was his
the
whole plan.
Mm-hmm.
He did eventually betray them, though.
Yeah.
Which, not great, Doctor.
No, not exactly. It was very weird, the Doctor's role in all this, I think. Like, it makes sense that he was held captive and he had to do what he could to protect himself and Vicky. But dare I say, once it was just the Doctor and Vicky that were held captive, I almost feel like Vicky did even less than Susan did in other episodes. Yeah. Like, she was just there with him.
Yeah, I feel like they're having the issue again where they just don't know what to do with that character in the role.
Like,
just kind of have her there.
Other than clearly giving, a young child for the Doctor to care for again, which comes up a little bit in the Crusade, but in Web Planet specifically, it really just feels like her purpose there is to give the Doctor the reason to protect somebody, to have somebody actively there to protect. Yeah. Though I did like the scene in the beginning of her in the TARDIS and in her panic just flicks a bunch of things. And we're led to think she dematerialized the TARDIS, and you think, oh, that's cool. We're going to have to see her get the TARDIS back to them. No, I don't know what she did, but whatever she didn't dematerialize the TARDIS. The Zarbi just took and dragged the TARDIS away, I guess.
Yeah. It was funny because like it makes the dematerialization, it makes the sound. Yep. So you think it's dematerializing, and then there's just like, no, we just did that for the cliffhanger. That was it.
Yeah.
And I guess it was just like the animus was like affecting gravity or something, so it just pulled it over. Because like they mentioned that they didn't have moons before either, and then now they do. So like gravity was increasing or something.
Yeah, this thing was very strong. What it was is still kind of nebulous, but it was rather strong, and I'm genuinely curious if it's like, because it was very much more of an act of consciousness that was like
Yeah,
a driving force in whatever it could manipulate, and it was poisoning the land, and it kind of reminded me of later things that we see in Doctor Who, including a modern, of things like the Great Intelligence, where it's mostly just this evil influence more than anything else.
yeah. Apparently, the animus comes back in like comic books and stuff, and it's kind of established that it's like a pre-universe being
Okay,
that
so same
survived.
kind of thing, yeah. Okay,
Yeah, so it's like an elder god essentially.
yeah. Okay, an elder god that wanted control of giant ants. I mean, sure, why
Yeah.
not? Got to start from somewhere, I guess.
Apparently, Peter Capaldi is apparently a big fan of the Web Planet as well.
Okay.
In like when he was the Doctor, they did like videos where he talked about like classic Who stuff he said he liked, and he basically agreed with us that like he liked the set design and the costume design and everything in the Web Planet quite a bit.
It's really
he didn't mention
over the
anything
top.
about the story. It's noteworthy. He didn't say anything about the story whatsoever. He just kind of praised like the set design and everything.
I mean, the Web Planet even gets a little spotlight in An Adventure in Time and Space,
Yeah,
the movie about William Hartnell as the first Doctor and the creation of Doctor Who. Like you see like the costumes, like the actors in these costumes, and you see it kind of get a little bit of a spotlight of when they were making the Web Planet. And you have like the role of his actual granddaughter talking about how like, oh, the butterfly people should come back, they can fight the Daleks. And it's like, it makes me wonder if the Monoptera were actually like really well liked for being early, well designed aliens.
I think this serial had like it's like one of the most viewed episodes of Doctor Who.
Really? Okay.
I think it was only like the first couple though, and then it trailed off towards the end.
Okay, interesting.
Peter Capaldi said he also watched it when it was first airing.
Yeah, that makes sense. He's been a fan
That was
from the
his first
beginning.
viewing. Yep. And apparently this was also when William Russell decided he didn't want to keep doing the show. During this. I kind of wonder if it's because of like all the stuff they had a bunch of stuff happening behind the scenes that wasn't very good. Like the late cues happened, and then they wanted to use like special filming lenses, and then they couldn't get them and stuff. So, like a bunch of stuff was going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So maybe that was related to it.
Behind the scenes, I think this is around the time production really started to shift around a little bit. Like I think at this point, Hartnell's difficulty started to come about, and like a little bit more prominently, and working with him as an actor started to become a bit more difficult from here. And I believe it was around this time where some of the higher ups were changing hands and all of it, moving to other projects. So production wise, it was also starting to change. It was around this time. It might have just been discussed or planned at this point, but this was kind of the point where big changes were happening beyond simply Susan.
Yeah. And I feel like it kind of makes sense for William Russell to want to leave too, because like Ian's not really doing much anymore.
Especially, yeah, he's no longer the protagonist. He's, as we keep joking, he keeps kind of bumbling his way to the right place at the right time.
They're trying to shift into the Doctor being the protagonist, and then unfortunately later in the next season they kind of have to shift away from that.
Yeah,
because his health starts deteriorating.
Yeah, so it's going to be a little bit of a bumpy ride on that front for a bit.
Yeah. There were a few quotes that I put in here from this episode that I found funny. Like, the Doctor says, "Don't count your chickens, child." So, like, the Doctor has already picked up Earth sayings and stuff, and even though he's, like, not spent any time on Earth.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. He's definitely, like, he's definitely more human now than he was last season, which is kind of funny considering they have not really been back to modern Earth yet.
Yeah. And then there was the whole conversation where it's like, "Don't you think he's cute like this?" Well, I haven't noticed it before, but now you mention it, no, I don't think so.
I love that line. I had that noted down
was-
too. That was such a good interaction with the, oh, come on, I think it's kind of cute like this. Like, well, now that you mention it, I'm taking a look. No, I don't. it was comedically timed. It was pretty good. It was pretty good.
Yeah. I also find it funny when Ian's like, "What are they, Doctor?" And the Doctor's like, "They're insects." And they're insects.
It's like, well,
you couldn't tell.
You can take a good look at them, Ian.
They're literally just ants. You don't know what ants look like. You literally saw a giant one a couple episodes ago.
Yeah, like literally earlier this season, you were shrunken down and saw them larger than you. So this shouldn't be that much of a surprise. But
yeah. I liked parts of this serial.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly just everything other than the story.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, same.
The story was basically just the second half of the Dalek serial.
It really was. Longer. It really was drawn out to be that. The Monoptera and the Zarbi, like, design-wise and, like, world-building-wise are pretty cool. The set design was actually very good. The visual design of the costumes for them were pretty good. I cannot stand the sound effect they kept using for the Zarbi, though. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It got so grating.
Yeah, it did.
I still don't really understand the whole thing with gold after all this time. Like, I've been thinking back on it. I'm like, I still don't really understand what it was. Especially, like, the weird, not quite necklace, but, like, the device they put to stun the Doctor and Vicky and then they used to control the Zarbi. It felt very unexplained. Like, they attempted to explain it, but not enough that it actually made sense. They're just like, oh, it's gold.
I think it's supposed to
it's gold. Gold is bad. Okay. Okay.
I think it's supposed to just be like, it helps the Animus control minds easier, I guess. I guess that's really it.
Yeah, I guess. It just felt kind of odd. But
yeah,
to talk about that final thing, the Animus, the fact that Barbara was able to defeat it. I noticed how Vicky yells at it, calling it a giant spider. And that was kind of when I actually looked at what this thing was. And I'm like, I don't actually understand what it's supposed to be. I thought like a bug or like a parasite. Like, I thought it was supposed to be like some other like insect-like creature. But it really does feel like it's a bunch of like webs and vines around like a consciousness thing.
Yeah. It's kind of a weird looking thing there. Mm-hmm.
It was.
I did also like the striking image from the last cliffhanger where the Doctor and Vicky are like covered in webs.
Yeah,
like that's just a good image right there.
It is a good image, and then it didn't do anything. It didn't lead to anything.
No, not really.
Which is
they
very
just strange. Immediately got them out.
Yeah,
it's just for the cliffhanger. They're not very good at cliffhangers.
No,
I don't think.
There's a couple.
They're normally
times,
pretty bad.
There's a couple times I think the cliffhangers are pretty good, but yeah, sometimes they like quick. We need a cliffhanger, and then they immediately undo it at the start of the next episode. Yeah. They don't really build off of the cliffhanger.
Yeah, this was also the only serial in all of Doctor Who where you don't have any human characters other than the TARDIS crew.
So far, yeah,
or at least like they look human.
Yeah.
Like, you can have an alien species that looks exactly like a human, but in this one, this is the one time where they didn't have anyone.
Or just so far?
According to TARDIS Wiki, it's the only one ever.
Wow.
I don't know how true that is, but that's what they say.
That's something you got to keep an eye out on now, because I guess that's because I guess every other instance you'll have like even just one human.
Yeah.
Them all. I don't know, maybe, or like you'll have a scene with humans before all of it or something, huh?
Yeah, unless we count Edge of Destruction, which had nobody. But
yeah, I guess that's fair.
It didn't have a supporting crew, so it's different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess that was What Planet. You got anything else to say there?
I think it had a lot of potential, but its plot could have been a lot better.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so the next serial is The Crusade. And since Crusade was half missing, we'll just give a little synopsis here to begin with. So the TARDIS crew lands during the Third Crusade, and Barbara is basically immediately captured by Saladin's forces, while the other three meet an injured soldier of King Richard's. So they use that to go to King Richard and get in his good graces, and they ask for help with getting Barbara back. He disagrees at first, but eventually he decides that he will send Ian, and he will knight Ian. So we now have Sir Ian Chesterton.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets sent to go speak to Saladin, but by the time he gets there, Barbara's already been helped escape. So,
kind of.
A bunch of shenanigans occur, and then eventually they meet up again. And then they return to the TARDIS, and when they get back there, they find out Vicky and the Doctor had to flee because King Richard wanted to marry Joanna, which is his sister, to Saladin's brother, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And they were accused of having told Joanna of that plan, so they had to run
traitors,
off.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, and then Ian, now a knight, decides to pretend to arrest the Doctor to get him back in the TARDIS because some other knights were there, and he had to trick them. And that's basically what happened.
That is basically what happened. There's a whole bunch of like little shenanigans otherwise, but I gotta be real. This not even 2 serials after the Romans. This is starting to happen too much. They get stuck somewhere in the past and immediately all get like split up and need to find their way back. Like if it was they're adventuring, and then after a while they get split off and have to come back, it's fine. But as you mentioned, Barbara literally got captured like right out of stepping out of the TARDIS.
Yeah.
And I think the only worthwhile takeaway from the serial is the fact that Ian is knighted as Sir Ian Chesterton.
Yeah, pretty much. I didn't really like this story very much because like there's not really much to it. Because like Ian goes to save Barbara and then Barbara's not there, and then it takes like 2 more episodes for them to actually find each other.
Mm-hmm. And when they finally do find each other, it's a very quick sequence of, oh look, we stole horses, now we can get back to the TARDIS. There's no real punch to it all, other than the fact that Ian arrived at the right time just to watch the villain get murdered.
Yeah, pretty much. I did like the ending though. That was funny with him pretending to arrest the Doctor.
Yeah,
it reminds me of when the 10th Doctor is like, I'm gonna go step into that police box and arrest myself.
I was just thinking of that. Yeah, it is rather silly how that played out, or more specifically, Ian saying like, "Oh, he's responsible for some of my comrades' deaths, so I'm going to be the one to execute him." And the other knights be like, "Oh, very well." And as soon as they turn around or something, they just sneak into the TARDIS.
And then the knights are like, "Oh, we're not going to tell anyone what we."
Yeah, they watch it. They watch the TARDIS dematerialize and like, "Oh, we can't talk about this.
We were tricked by sorcerers."
Yeah,
I think. And
I like how they're like, "Oh, poor Sir Ian. Who knows what dangers he's facing in there."
Yeah, I did also like when Ian gets knighted. The Doctor and Vicky are like, the Doctor's like, "Well, maybe I should get knighted someday." And Vicky says, "Well, that'll be the day." Fast forward to the 10th Doctor, and he does get knighted.
It makes me wonder if he's ever been knighted before then. Like, it makes me wonder if that was when, if it was the 10th Doctor finally getting knighted, if that was it in Tooth and Claw.
I think there was the 5th Doctor did at some point, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like the 4th or 5th would have been. So
yeah, on TARDIS Wiki, one of the 4th or 5th Doctors did, I think.
Okay.
I don't remember if it was in the show or if it was in a comic or something, but
okay. Okay, so 10th might be the other one on screen. But so it was funny to hear the Doctor say that. It's like, oh, well, just you wait. A long time.
Just you wait,
but
eventually.
Yeah, really. But I think, looking at the different character journeys here, Ian got to do something this time. He was knighted. He was on a journey to go rescue Barbara. He got ambushed and trapped, and he had to fight his way out of that and win over his captor to help him. It was kind of interesting. It wasn't like the best part of the episode, but it was nice to see he wasn't just bumbling his way this time. He was trying to be a hero, and he technically was one. Like, he did reach Barbara and get her back this time. That being said, I don't like how Barbara's role in this entire serial was running place to place, getting rescued, getting captured by different people constantly.
Yeah. They do like to do that sometimes.
Can I trust this person? Yes, I can trust this person. Oh, this person gets outed or killed, and she's then captured by someone else who either intends to rescue her, or as soon as she's captured, she gets rescued by someone else, and then immediately trust them too. I also don't understand why the first time she got captured, she decided to tell them about being a time traveler. What do you get out of that, Barbara?
Yeah, I don't know.
And you know,
It's a bit weird.
you're not a princess. You're an entertainer. I see now. And she looks so upset by that. And it's like, what did you think was gonna happen?
Yeah, it is kind of nice how they didn't really portray either Richard or Saladin as purely good or purely bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it could have just been entirely like British propaganda. It wasn't exactly that. Like, they still ultimately want you to like Richard more.
Yeah,
but it's not entirely British propaganda like it could have been.
It was definitely a mess and a bit on the racist side, to be completely honest.
Yeah, it definitely was.
But
it could have been worse, but it could have been better too.
It could have been worse, but it's hard to praise it with how glaring a lot of it was, unfortunately.
Yeah. Like, it's weird how it's like, Richard's like, we got to find a non-violent way to end this conflict. And it's like, you can just leave.
Yeah.
You don't have to be here.
Yeah.
You're the one invading.
Yeah. No, but he has to see Jerusalem.
Yeah.
So continuing to look at the characters. Ian gets knighted and goes on a journey to rescue Barbara. Barbara gets kidnapped and rescued and is in this constant getting involved everywhere she goes. The Doctor is in King Richard's good graces and is trying to help how he can from within the inner court, basically. And Vicky's disguised as a boy, found out to be a girl, and is given a dress. That's Vicky's plot.
Yeah.
Poor Vicky.
I laugh so much at that one quote where it's like, a girl dressed as a boy is nothing understandable these days.
that was really surprisingly modern. Like, that was actually really funny.
Yeah, I laughed so much at that.
That whole sequence there was like, somehow, like, you could fit that in like some random show airing nowadays, and that's perfectly fitting. But no, this was during the Crusades and filmed in the 60s. That was an interesting choice, and I don't think they ever expected it to age in the way it did, but whew.
I also like the face that the Doctor has when the guy says that.
Mm-hmm.
He makes a funny face.
Yeah. Like, I understand why he went along with this plan of, okay, we're going to disguise her. But I think it's really funny how it played out. I just feel bad that that's all Vicky's plot ended up being.
Yeah.
So, I think we're seeing the problem of they have too many companions right now. And they're falling into the trap of, well, they got Vicky to replace Susan rather than be entirely her own character. So, she's falling into the exact same traps that Susan did. Because, she's supposed to be a young girl, so we can't have her do much. It's like, well,
yeah.
That's why I'm hoping when we see the next change in companions, we start seeing a change to all of this. Because we've seen Vicky attempt to do things more so than Susan did at this point, at least. But she kind of keeps getting tripped up by, she's young and the Doctor's watching over her, taking care of her.
Yeah, pretty much. I know Ian and Barbara get replaced by one character instead of two.
And we'll see how that goes.
Maybe things will change around a bit there.
Yeah.
They definitely just wanted Vicky to fit the same archetype that Susan did, though.
Right.
So she still doesn't get to do much.
Which, I understand, but I feel bad because I think she deserves to be able to do more. Is basically it. But
there's also some trivia here that Jean Marsh, who plays Joanna, worked with William Hartnell in 1953.
Oh, wow.
And there was another actor in that movie by the name of John Pertwee, who got married to Jean Marsh in 1955, and then they got divorced in 1960. So she's actually the ex-wife of a future Doctor.
Wow. That's rather funny, actually.
And then I think she also comes back next season as a different character.
Okay. Interesting. Guess we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, it's a funny little note there where, her and William Hartnell worked with John Pertwee a decade before this.
She's
and then she got married to him.
Yeah, she's very involved in Doctor Who, like it or not.
Yeah. Next season, I think she comes back as a character called Sarah Kingdom in The Daleks' Master Plan.
Ah, okay. So
which is a 12-part serial.
Oh,
that'll be
that's a
fun
long
time.
one. That's a long one.
Only 3 of them. Only 3 of them still exist, but the other 9 do exist in the way that we watched half of this serial, where it's the audio with pictures.
How did you feel about that, by the way?
It could definitely be better, but like getting to watch the story is at least like it's kind of okay.
Yeah,
to have a way to watch it.
I wasn't a fan
it's definitely
of
not great, though.
the little scrolling text describing what you can't hear. I wasn't quite a fan of that happening. I think that could have been a bit better, but having
apparently,
the audio at least was fine.
Apparently, there are versions like that where they have people like visibly like narrating it, like audio narrating it.
Okay,
that's not what we found though.
Yeah,
I don't know if it only exists for certain serials. Apparently, there also was one of these. There was one of these for Marco Polo, which I didn't know at the time.
Oh,
so maybe we should watch that at some point.
Yeah, maybe we can watch this at some point. Watch that at some point.
But yeah, we'll have a lot of this next season, unfortunately.
Oh boy,
where a lot of them are missing, and this is all we have.
Well, hopefully that goes a little bit better.
Most of the Second Doctor's time has been animated by now, so it's mainly just season 3 with the First Doctor, where we'll be missing a lot of stuff. But yeah, Second Doctor's mostly been animated by now.
Okay, well that's good at least.
And then there was also when they did the VHS version of this, they brought back William Russell to portray Ian Chesterton, just like kind of summarizing everything, which was interesting. That was interesting.
That was interesting. It was actually kind of nice to see, like an older Ian, reminiscing on all of this.
Yeah, I like how, like the way he talks is like, people think I'm crazy when I tell them about these stories, but I think I can trust you.
Sure, why not?
and they would definitely think I'm crazy if I told them the story of when I was knighted by King Richard.
I mean, anyone would in that case.
Yeah, a lot of the dialogue here was also very nice. Like they definitely tried to do like poetic dialogue at times.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think overall, I'm still not really a fan of the Crusade, especially so soon after the Romans, and even before that, the Reign of Terror. Like we're doing this plot of we're somewhere in the past, and at least one of us gets captured, and now the quest is specifically to rescue them. A bit too much.
Yeah,
we're doing that a little too much now, and this was so soon after the Romans. I feel like it could have stood to be a little bit later on, but I also feel like I just feel like the other stories set in the past use the time period a bit better.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And this one
just kind of felt weak to me.
This one unfortunately had not great politics as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's unfortunately very relevant too, considering the current state of the world where this exact story took place.
Yeah, pretty much.
And they bring back, darkening actors' skin colors.
Which is exactly what I meant with, it's kind of racist and not all that good, actually.
Apparently, most stories about this are a lot worse, though.
Yeah.
So, it could be worse, but it could also certainly be a lot better.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was also very weird to me just to think that, like, back to back, we have a story about helping people who were kicked off of their land reclaim their land, and then in this story, we're now siding with the person that's trying to kick people off of their land. Which is, it's a bit weird.
Yeah, it definitely is a bit weird, and while I understand it's the whole point of trying not to disrupt history and just kind of survive while it plays out, it definitely was causing some problems.
Yeah. I guess that's about all we have to say about the Crusade.
Yeah, I'd say so. The highlight really is Ian getting knighted.
Yeah. I kind of wonder how much he'll mention that going forward, although he's not going to be here much longer. This is where we talk about news, but the vast majority of the news that exists is about what is currently airing on TV, and we're not going to be talking about that until after it's all over. I guess what we can mention is that they announced stuff about the Christmas special.
Sure.
Which is going to be written by Stephen Moffat, and it's going to be called Joy to the World.
It's
I like the name, at least. Yeah, it's my episode. They've been using my name a lot in the promotional material. Your cosmic joyride.
It's true. They have been. That should be fun.
I don't really know how much there is to say about the Christmas special, though, because, like, I mean, the most we would have to say would be, like, how we think it's going to tie into the season.
But we don't want to talk about the season that much. I mean, the main thing, I think, to take away from it is it's clear Stephen Moffat is excited to be involved in Doctor Who again. He didn't just write a one-off boom episode. He's involved again like he was in the original RTD era. And it might only be in the same way as the original RTD era, where he writes an episode here and there, a Christmas special, maybe one episode per season kind of thing. Although it does make me wonder, did he write any Christmas specials during RTD's era originally? Or is this the first time he's doing an RTD Christmas special?
It's always been written by the incumbent showrunner.
Yeah.
When they do Christmas specials.
Yeah, so that's actually a pretty interesting point then.
Yeah. It's an interesting shake-up there.
Mm-hmm.
Makes you wonder if, like, RTD's busy with other stuff at the time.
Like maybe spin-offs.
Or if he... I guess, technically, since they did 2 seasons in a row, he probably just, like, decided to just give him that one, because, like, the Christmas specials don't really matter, like, in the grand scheme of, like, the plot or anything, typically.
That's true.
Except for, like, when you're introducing a character with it.
Yeah, if you're using the Christmas special to introduce a new companion or as the regeneration special, that's kind of the only time they weigh that heavily.
Yeah. So you probably just decided, like, you can just do whatever you want with the Christmas special, and I'll just focus on the next season.
And then we find out this Christmas special is, like, tying the knot between seasons 1 and 2, like, so intrinsically. We'll see,
This is where we'll meet Verada Sethu's character.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, I've been liking the new Doctor Who.
Me too. And we'll have plenty to say when we don't know yet if it'll be a full episode dedicated to it, or if it'll just be a whole section after the finale airs, but yeah, we are going to talk about the new season 1 when it ends.
Yeah. Since this episode's still a bit short, we're going to have an additional topic to talk about here, which is kind of just what we'll end up doing. So I posited that we can talk about our favorite Doctor Who spin-off material. So whether that's a spin-off show, or if you've, like, read any of the comics, or listened to Big Finish or anything.
Oh, man.
What about you, Tris? What's your favorite?
Oh man, there's so many, and I actually, as of recording, I just bought as of recording right now, there's a Humble Bundle for 60 Doctor Who comics for $25.
I've been thinking of getting that.
And I haven't started reading any of them yet, but I like just bought it before we started recording. And so it's entirely possible my answer to this may change. Because that's an overwhelming amount of comics, to be completely honest. But yeah, I've loved some of the audio stories that I listened to. And while I do need to shout out, like, I love some of the spin-off shows. Like, I love Torchwood, I love Sarah Jane Adventures. But there's something about some of the audio stories that I think have been, like, really, really good. And one of the spin-off audio stories that I really liked, that I didn't really expect to, it just ended up being really fun. It's called R&J, and it is the whole story of Captain Jack Harkness and River Song constantly meeting each other and getting in the way of each other's lives.
Nice.
It's a really fun story that it's played by the actors, and because the whole point is the two of them practically immortal the way they are and constantly time traveling. You have moments where Jack encounters River while still traveling with the Ninth Doctor, or River encountering Jack before he's ever met the Doctor, or and there's a bunch of fun little moments between them, and there's this weird kind of, because of the way they both are, there's this weird kind of romantic subplot to it where they both have interest in each other, but I think there's a whole point where, to get out of marrying someone else, like some villain, River marries him, but then it's still a case of, but she's still the Doctor's wife, but Jack never actually learns that until the very end of the whole thing.
Sounds funny.
But it's actually like a really fun, enjoyable story, and there's just something about you can feel the joy of these two actors loving their characters so much. So yeah, I would say that.
I had heard a bit about that, because when I watch TV shows, I tend to read wikis.
Yeah,
and when I was watching, it was the episode with Danny Pink's descendant, it says that they were the ones knocking on his spaceship.
Yes.
Apparently that was tied into that.
I think it was. I think it was.
They did it just to prank him.
Yeah, basically.
Of course they did. But yeah, as for myself, I've read a handful of the comics.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really like most of them, but I think like they're fine. You definitely get more multi-Doctor stories and stuff in there.
Right.
Like there was the one where it's the 10th Doctor during Blink ends up meeting the 13th Doctor, which was an interesting idea. That might be in that bundle you just bought.
Yeah, I'll look. That does sound
I'm not sure. The one I really liked, though, was the Fugitive Doctor comic series.
Yes, I remember you talking about that one.
Yeah, I had some details wrong on the Free Comic Book Day one, where she does go to Earth in 1962. She doesn't go to the same junkyard, though. Mm-hmm. But then when she leaves, they do cut forward and say, like, a year later, here's the first Doctor showing up. I see. But, like, the main plot of her, I think it's like four or five comics, is the idea that she's working for a division, so they send her to go, like they say, there's this cult that wants to destroy Gallifrey, so you have to go kill them. Oh. Don't talk to them, though. Just go kill them. Oh, and of course, you're gonna go talk to them if you're being told that. Yeah. So what happens is the Doctor meets them, and they're like, "Hey, we're establishing a colony on this planet here," and then Division always sends 2 agents at once, so the Doctor's companion here decides to kill one of them and pushes them off a cliff. But then what happens is they start to regenerate, and you find out these are actually Gallifreyans, and the idea is if they regenerate on another planet, they start to adapt to that planet, so they change. So, like, they don't look human. They're like lizard people things. Mm-hmm. And I really like the idea that, like, when they regenerate on this planet, they're changing and they're adapting to that planet, which is like a really cool concept.
So it's like they're becoming humans,
unfortunately,
or closer to humans.
Well, they're like lizard people on this planet because it's like they can climb up walls easier and stuff.
Oh, okay.
But, like, I really like that idea of, like, regeneration can change you and stuff.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they don't really do much with it because it's like a 4-episode comic series.
Right.
But yeah, it's a really cool concept. It also maybe could explain why the 8th Doctor has, like, human DNA in him.
That's true, because actually.
The Doctor has regenerated on Earth multiple times by that point.
Too many times.
Although, it should be noted that Tecteun at the very end is like, I'm going to fix that. I don't like that. That's, Time Lord blood purity stuff.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. I think it's an interesting detail, though, to see, like, to be able to explore that early aspect of it all with the Fugitive Doctor and everything before, like, the Time Lords in their prime, so to say. I think it is really interesting that they're trying to find more ways to explore that, and I hope audio stories come out of it all more.
Yeah, I think she's getting a Big Finish thing early next year, I think.
Good.
They announced it like 2 years ago and then disappeared for a while.
Sometimes it takes a while. Sometimes it takes a while. I remember recently Big Finish, people were talking about Big Finish because they're doing a story of, I think it's the 5th Doctor re-encountering the Toymaker. And everyone's like, what? How is that possible now? That like contradicts against the 60th anniversary. And they were just like, guys, we recorded this in 2019. So it's like, okay, I think that makes sense.
The 6th Doctor, I think, has already done one of those as well. Because the plan, like, we'll get into it in like 2 years, but the plan was he was going to have a season where he was going to encounter the Toymaker. And then plans shifted and stuff because he got fired.
Yeah,
but then they eventually brought that back in Big Finish, I believe.
Okay, that's interesting.
Another thing I've been reading recently is it's not actually official, but it's Forgotten Lives is what it's called, and it's a bunch of people who have written Doctor Who novels writing about the faces from the brains of Morbius. So it's like the Doctors before the first Doctor.
That's cool.
It's like they don't really do like much with like the lore of Doctor Who or anything. It's just kind of just like, we want to introduce you to what these Doctors are like.
Yeah.
It's like they're interesting little stories.
That is pretty cool.
There is one that it took me a while to realize what they were saying, but the Doctor meets this alien race called the Kelda. It's Kelda.
Okay.
If you rearrange those letters, you will realize what the plot twist is at the end. So basically, it's like the Kelda are like this highly advanced species that like they're making like an intergalactic empire because they want to support all the planets around the world.
Mm-hmm.
And then like eventually they're like members of our own species are messing with our timeline and stuff. So the Doctor has to fix that. And then in the end, he like time locks their planet and is like, no one will ever be able to come to this planet other than me. And luckily, I'm never going to come here and mess up the entire history of this species by making the two factions that still exist fight each other. I'm never going to do that.
No, never.
Oops. So the Doctor accidentally turned a good species into the Daleks.
Yeah, that's not terribly surprising, unfortunately.
It's especially funny because like right at the end, they're like, as long as the robot species stays in their city, and then the other species that still lives on this planet stays out of the city, everything will be fine. And eventually, they'll join up and be nice to each other.
Sure.
Luckily, no one will ever mess this up.
Yeah, nobody ever.
Yeah, otherwise, like occasionally you get like some returning monsters, but it's mostly new stuff.
Yeah.
They did 3 books, and from what I understand, the 3rd book, which I haven't gotten to yet, is entirely about Morbius.
Oh.
And then the first 2 were just like other stuff.
No, that's fair. Oh man, like the extended media of Doctor Who is so interesting. One other one I do want to shout out is one I haven't gotten yet, but I want to. There is a book about River Song that was written by Alice Kingston, the actress, because she loves her character so much. She wrote a book about River Song, and the plot of the book is River meeting Melody Malone, her storybook counterpart, and they have to like fix reality or something because fiction's becoming reality, and so it's River working with herself, and it's like, wow, this really this is either fan fiction or written by someone who loves their character so much, and I want to read it for that reason because what I love about Doctor Who is how much these actors love the characters they play with it all, and Alex Kingston as River is one of the biggest proof of that.
There's a lot of Big Finish stuff I want to get because there's a lot of cool stuff. It's just it's expensive.
Yeah, it is an
like
definitely an expensive hobby.
It's like it's like $50 just for like one thing. I did also like Class when that came out.
Okay,
it was very weird though, but like at that point in time, I kind of just wanted something that wasn't written by Stephen Moffat. I'll be honest. So I ended up liking it.
That's fair. That's fair. I did not like Class because I felt it was like, what if we take Sarah Jane Adventures where the main cast are like kids or like teenagers, but we give it the edginess of Torchwood. And I did not like, I couldn't get through more than I think 3 episodes of Class before I was like, all right, I don't like this. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it certainly got weird. I liked like the main characters though. It's just like the story got a bit weird.
I didn't like it. I didn't like how important it made Cole Hill. Doctor Who was in general is also a bit guilty of that, but Class pushed it even further. I don't like Cole Hill as a school being that important, other than it's where the original companions came from. Just because I feel like it starts to become this weird destiny thing. Like, this place exists and everyone tied to this place is very important to the world of Doctor Who. And it's like, I don't... Like, it was a cute nod that I think Clara starts teaching there. As like she does. It all comes back full circle kind of thing. But I think it could have ended at that point. It has too much of a presence.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
I want to get into Big Finish though, because like...
Yeah.
William Russell did more stuff as Ian Chesterton in like the early 2010s, I think. And then he was also in Susan's audios that she did.
Those are the...
like Susan's Time War.
Yeah, I was saying those are the Time War stories, right? Yeah.
It's like, I kind of want to get into those and see like further adventures of these characters.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of money.
It really is. It really is a lot to get into.
Yeah, if they would just like put out like a streaming service you could buy where it's like any Big Finish thing that's like 5 years old, you can just have it.
That would
I would
be
do that.
very nice. That would be very nice, but they
Because like obviously you want to be able to sell the new ones, but like if it's over 5 years old, it will just be on the streaming service where you pay monthly. I would love to do that.
That would be such a good way to just bang out a bunch of them, because that's the whole thing too. It's like I'm so torn because I really do want to get into more of the audio stories, but it is a dangerously expensive hobby to try to do. So I'm like very cautious about buying too much of it.
And they have like multi-doctor stories and stuff in there too, which can get cool.
There was
like they did a bunch of stuff for the 60th anniversary. They did a bunch of multi-doctor things.
I think. They did. They had I think they actually had a story about degeneration happening. I think there was one where like the doctor was going back to old faces and didn't understand why and had to figure that out. I think it was Time War related, possibly, but
yeah.
But no, there's a lot of really cool ideas. I mean, Big Finish also has this cool thing where they call it short trips, where they do, I think it's like an annual competition where like fans can submit story ideas and like a contest, and the winner actually happens. So there's a multi-doctor story of the 11th and 12th Doctor meeting as a short trip. Not played by their actual actors, of course, but...
Yeah.
But I had, for years at this point, I had an idea for one. I never got around to actually writing it to submit it. But I had this idea for like the last like 4 or 5 years at this point of, and you'll see why I say that, of season 10, 12th Doctor, where he's like teaching at the school and all that. So he's locked in a specific location. Him with the dream crabs from the season 8 to 9 Christmas special with the dream crabs and Santa Claus and all that, as a way to talk to Donna. Because like I had this like idea of Donna's having dreams about all of that again, having nightmares. She doesn't remember them.
Yeah.
The family's worried about her. And the idea of, only the Doctor could probably see what's up, if she's actually in danger. And I had the idea of you had Donna's mother go seeking him out, learning, someone named the Doctor teaches at this school. Maybe it's actually him. You have the whole thing. Maybe she won't recognize you. Maybe it'll be safe enough. We'll treat it like a doctor visit. And the dream crabs allow them to talk, and she warns him of something. Maybe warns him of I don't know, either the Master coming back later on in season 10, or of just a regeneration soon enough. I don't know. I didn't think that far into it, but it was the idea of communicating with Donna that way. But then we had the announcement of they were coming back for the 60th, and then during the 60th, they're like, Donna has these dreams about these far off places. And I'm like, wow, I really should have written that.
Yeah. Hit the nail on the head.
I really should have written that. They could have done it.
I have been doing a rewatch of the 12th Doctor recently, and I have to say, I've been enjoying it more than I did the first time I watched it.
Hey, that's good. That's good.
Like, I'm not a big fan of how he acts in season 8.
Yeah.
But I think when I was watching it the first time, I think that kind of colored my opinion of him for series 9, and he's a lot better in series 9.
He really is.
Like, I think he might be going up a bit higher in my favorite Doctor list.
Ooh.
I think he might be higher than the 10th Doctor now.
Ooh, that's exciting.
Because like the 10th Doctor also has a season where I don't like the way he acts, which is when he's with Martha.
Yeah.
He's not very good in that season.
Yeah.
So like, I definitely like the 12th Doctor's whole thing outside of series 8.
Yeah, I mean, hey, that's...
I'm currently part of the way through series 10 now.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I just like Peter Capaldi, the energy he brings to it.
Yeah.
It's very, very good.
His energy is very good, and I especially in season 10, I love his role as more of a teacher and the relationship that he has with Bill and Nardole.
It's also just kind of funny seeing him like trapped on Earth for that season.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, when we get to the 3rd Doctor, there'll be a lot of that.
There will be a lot of that. Yep.
And he doesn't even have the option of just going into the TARDIS and coming back the exact second he left.
No.
His TARDIS is broken. Yeah. I definitely think I like the 12th Doctor more this time around.
Hey, that's good. I think Doctor Who's a show that really benefits from rewatches, like in general. Like I think usually it is better upon a rewatch. Either the hype of it is gone and you get to see like the actual strengths and high points, but also the low points more clearly. But you also the initial reaction is gone, so things that you thought were bad, you now get to actually look at it. Okay, actually, I could see what they were doing here, kind of thing.
Yeah, like you definitely really appreciate how he no longer decides to insult Clara all the time once you get to series 9.
Yeah, seriously.
He's starting to learn to be nicer.
He may still have the cards for some reason, but
yeah, that got funny though with the cards.
It did.
I think we should probably end the episode soon.
Yeah, I think so.
So for our next episode, we will be watching The Space Museum, which is 4 episodes, and The Chase, which is 6 episodes. Both of those are on Tubi TV and BritBox and BBC iPlayer.
All right.
And just to mention, we do have a Patreon, so if you would like to get into our Discord, for just $1 a month, you can join the Passenger tier, where you get into our Discord and get early access to episodes. And for $5 a month, you can get our Companion tier, which will allow you to watch live as we record, and there will be a live tech chat where we'll chat with you. So, like, if you liked the 2 serials we just watched, you'd be able to tell us what you liked about them. Maybe sway our opinions a bit.
Yeah.
So we will be recording the next episode on June 1st. Hopefully. You never know. Plans might change. Also, we should probably just mention that we typically record around like 12:30/1 p.m. Eastern.
Yep.
Tends to be when we're doing it. Yeah, so as a reminder, just make sure you watch The Space Museum and The Chase before our next episode. Also, I will just note that The Chase is going to be where we're saying goodbye to Ian and Barbara. So we will be saying goodbye to them next time.
All right.
And I believe we also meet the new companion in that episode as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can find those 2 serials on BBC iPlayer for free, or for free on Tubi TV, or you can pay for BritBox as well. And if you support us on Patreon for just $1 a month, you gain access to our Discord, as well as early access to episodes. I have been Joy. You can find me on social media at JoyContent.
And I've been Triss. You can find me on social media at ToonTriss.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.